Hi, I'm Shayna.
And I'm Tracey, and we are the creators of The Pump and Dump Show. We are moms, but we were women first. And in this podcast, we explore what it's like to be a woman who also happens to be a mom.
Before we were moms, we were women. Before we were moms, we were chillin'. We were pumping and dumping. We're talking about something. This is the Pump and Dump Podcast.
Hey, breeders.
What up, breeders?
Oh, man, it's the middle of summer.
We love you.
I think there's only like 5 weeks. I just said that it was the middle of the summer and you said, we love you.
Just wanted everyone to know. I'm looking out your window. Sorry.
It's a squirrel.
No, it's a Jeep with blinky lights. And I have like PTSD from living in LA, and I'm just assumed that they just put a boot on my car for no reason.
Oh, have you seen the garage across the street from me?
No.
There's a sign on the garage from a house like across diagonal from me that says, we don't call 911 with a picture of a gun. By the way,
Okay.
because the ice cream truck came by and my children and I were eating ice cream on the front porch. And I was like, what does that say? Because you also can't read it very well.
And then you're like, come inside, children. Come
And
inside.
I was like, oh, and please back. Urban life, y'all. Urban life.
All right. I just checked. I don't think I have a ticket.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Scary.
we love you. Happy summer. Hope
Happy
you guys are doing good.
summer. Everybody hopefully is hanging in there. There's been a bit of a heat wave
Oh my gosh.
recently.
We don't have air conditioning.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I haven't slept in weeks.
There's nothing like sweating and
In your
sleeping.
sleep. It's
Yeah, it's so
disgusting.
gross. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We have a swamp cooler,
It's working.
which is what they called me in high school. I don't even know if that makes any sense.
Makes no sense, but it's funny.
So yes, it is still summer, but school will be starting in
For
just
some
a
of
little
you.
bit for some of you.
For some of you, it doesn't matter. It's just a hotter version of fall and winter. I love summer. I love summer.
Yes,
I
summer-
love momming in the summer.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You're like, yeah, I don't.
No, it's been fun. There's been some lovely outings. We did go on vacation. You went on vacation, so we've gotten a little vacations, which are fun. But we're back. We're back to the grinds, and looking forward to the school year coming up. And we thought that it would be a really fun episode of the Pump and Dump podcast to talk to a teacher,
And get the real skinny
about
parents.
right, about parents, about what it is they do behind the scenes, the teachers, what they're doing behind the scenes, and what they want as presents.
Yeah, most importantly, can we buy them a Starbucks card? Yes or no?
Yes or no. So that's what this episode today is about. And I think all of you who have kids whose children maybe even in daycare.
Yeah, I
this
was
will
gonna say
apply as
not
well.
even just school, but any type of where there's an other adult monitoring and
monitoring your children,
guiding your children into adulthood.
It's good to know because there's helicopter parents, and then there's like way busy traveling touring parents like us, and you never quite know what the appropriate amount of attention is that you're giving the teacher and the school system that you're trusting your child inside. So we're going to talk to Josie Pack today and give you some good information.
We got a special guest.
Today's Pump and Dump podcast guest is a teacher, you guys. We decided to have a teacher in here to kind of give us what it is that teachers need from us moms. We're going to talk to her about a lot of stuff. This is Miss Josie, as I know her, but also Josie Pack as a woman.
As a human.
As a human being. Hi, Josie.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
This is very exciting.
Thank you for coming. Tell everybody about your kids and what you do and a little background on you.
Absolutely. So I'm Josie Pack. I am a teacher, an elementary school teacher. Haven't taught the same grade twice, so that's fun. But I'm about to teach fourth grade and very stoked for that. I have two kids. My son is 4, my daughter is 2. Conrad and Rosemary. They are insane always, and a lot of fun. And I'm very, very busy all the time. I am sort of new to teaching. It's not my first career, which is, I guess, sort of different from a lot of my colleagues. So I'm like one of the older people on my teams with like the least amount of experience, which is hilarious.
I did not know that.
So how long have you been teaching?
So this will be my 4th year teaching. And I was in marketing for 10 years before that, and then decided this is terrible and does not bring me joy, and decided to go back to school when I knew I was going to be having kids and wanted to do something that I loved that would also give me time to do things with them. So I got pregnant with my son, and as soon as I had him, I took my corporate maternity leave, just got that out of the way, and then I quit. And I did my student
Boom.
teaching, and here I am.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so being with little kids all day brings you more joy than being
like,
than
do you
doing
have regrets?
corporate marketing.
Than dealing with salespeople and
Fair
yes,
enough.
absolutely.
I like
will,
that.
I'll deal with the strange 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds all day if it means they're not going to be bitching to me about their quotas. It's like it's great. Now I have
I love
so
this so
much.
It's like amazing.
I know. And you do, I mean, you teach at the school where my kids go, and I see you, and you do have joy. I mean, you're like just a joyful, delightful person to see at school.
Yeah, I'm not burnt out yet. You know?
Sure.
And before we get into really what we want to talk about, but I mean, I'm always fascinated by how teachers who are parents of littles can go to school and be with littles all day and then go home and parent.
Yeah.
What sort of divine grace did God give you to have that sort of stamina?
That's an excellent question. I don't know. What I've heard people say in the past, this word that I think that we use in our district a lot and a lot of other schools, it's called grit.
Oh.
And it's like, apparently you have to do things, and so you do them. And then you try to be decent at it along the way. Right. So that's kind of how it happened. It's like,
Isn't
okay,
there a
I'm
whole
going to do
book
this.
Yeah.
Called Grit.
Yeah.
Isn't there
I'm
like
sure
Angela
it's a
Duckworth,
thing.
I think. Archie can look it up. Yeah, it's Angela somebody. It's called grit.
Yeah, but
Oh.
it's like one of those words that people bring up and teachers just cringe. They're like, ugh. But there's really no better word I can think of to describe, motherhood in general. I think we can all agree that, we had these babies, and now we have to like take care of them and raise them and make sure they don't die and hopefully become like good people one day.
Mhm.
And so you just have to do it no matter what's going on or, what's coming out of any end. And it's the same thing, like in your job, any job that you have. And that's something that I really appreciate about having this as a second career. I've got some perspective about what it could be like anywhere else. And it's like, yeah, we'd be dealing with the same crap in an office setting. Having to figure out, am I going to, take this work trip that I have to do, or am I going to be here for my child's birthday party, or something like that.
Gotcha.
There's always going to be something like that where you have to deal with a lot of difficult things, and your energy is completely depleted by the end of the day. I think any working mom is dealing with it. And the difference for teachers, yeah, we're dealing with a lot of kids. And then we come home and we deal with more kids.
Yeah.
I feel lucky right now that I'm dealing with kids that are different age groups. So, I've got like
nice.
a toddler and a 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old. But then I've got, kids who are coming up into this like prepubescent age.
That's
And
cool,
they are very
right.
different. And I can have these conversations with them that, I can't quite have with my kids yet. And it's very fun to see their brains working in those ways. So I don't know, it's energizing in a lot of ways. And then coming home and thinking about how my kids are going to one day be in that stage of life, and what are they going to be like? Are they going to be cool like this kid, or are they going to be weird like this kid, or are they going to be like an awesome combination of the two? And yeah, so it's good. It's going to be weird when we overlap, when I'm teaching the same age kids as I have. That will be that'll mess with my head a little bit.
You're going to be like, why can't you be more like Henry?
Exactly. Ugh, Henry, his mom. Just kidding.
All right, nice segue,
Like,
Josie.
who's-
So
Yeah.
that's what we really want to talk about is what do teachers really want from parents? We all have our own way of communicating with teachers and our own kind of philosophy. Some parents are like at school every day. Some, moms want to volunteer as much as they can. I try to be a little bit hands off until something really bad happens. And then I try not to invade like too much. I try not to email or what do we use now? Class Dojo too much if I don't have to. But like, what do you really want from parents, and where are we failing you guys as teachers right now?
You mean like as in participation as
Is in
parents?
support as
Yes.
where is the line between parents overstepping their boundaries and not letting you just do your job?
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack.
Okay.
So we've got, how do we like to communicate? What are we hoping parents are doing at home with their kids that can support us? And how do we like to, I guess, function as a team of like stakeholders in this child's life, and how much is too much? And so think one of the biggest things that especially teachers are dealing with right now is how do we communicate? What's the best way, the most equitable way to communicate with every parent in your class? And you see people using email, you see people sending home stuff in the backpacks, and then we have amazing apps that we use to put all our events out there and messages to the general group and then individuals, and then you have some teachers that choose to give out their cell phone numbers, which is like one of the biggest points of contention when we're all talking about like, do we give out our cell phone numbers or not?
Sure.
But I also figured out that there are some parents that just like don't email or don't use those apps on their phones. They have completely different lifestyles than I do. And sometimes it's just way easier for them to be able to text me about something that's going on. And I don't know, I feel like that's okay. That's worth it, for that to possibly be a thing where I have to change my phone number one day. But
Oh my gosh.
so some teachers are cool with that and some aren't. But the main thing is we're always trying to put out communication in a way that everyone is going to be able to accept, and that's like two-way for us. And even if it's just like making time to talk right after school.
Well, I will tell you that putting something in a backpack
No.
is like
Mm-mm.
I am the absolute. I will just fully admit I'm the absolute worst mom at looking at my kids'
No,
backpack.
I do it too. Conrad comes home with a backpack full of all kinds of stuff, and I don't know how long it's been in there.
And then between the Skate City announcements, right, and like community newsletters, I'm never going to see important information.
No, that's not going to work. And I think that everyone gets that now, and that part of it is going away. So any important communications is probably not going to come home in the backpack. I think that the best thing to do is up front in the beginning of the school year, everybody just needs to be honest and open about how they like to communicate and the best way to talk about things. I think that, some parents just need to suck it up and get the app, please, for the love of God. And you know what? I will be your tech support. I will.
Yeah.
I'll help you set it up.
But
But then for
even-
others too, we want to be able to, make sure that everyone is communicating in a way that's comfortable, but please just respond.
Sure, but that even goes back to the very beginning. I mean, you have back to school night, but not every family is there.
No, I would say like 10%.
I
maybe
know. I mean,
20,
I looked around.
depending
I'm
on
like,
your
there's no
school.
way this is all the parents. And so, what's that? Is that just busyness? Is there a faction of parents that just don't care or can't be bothered? I mean, what do you think it is?
I think it's a huge combination of things. Part of it is some parents just didn't even know it was a thing. Like they had no idea that they could go to the school's website and look at the calendar and it's right there, and it's been there for like a year. And then other people who are just like way too busy,
Or working too late,
or
or
have too many kids.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I'm always amazed at the people. I mean, it's hard enough with two, but I see these people at school who have 3-4 kids in the same school, even
you
more, and
can't-
others. I mean, how are you supposed to do it?
you can't make it to everything, and that's totally fine. So there are other ways that we track it down. We track people down and ask them, okay, what is your email? What's your number? What's the best way to get a hold of you? And we just try to do that as much as we can. So communication will be an ongoing thing, I think, forever and ever between teachers and parents. But as long as we're always trying and making it a point to say, like, this is the best way to get a hold of me. This is, how I would like to be able to communicate with you. I mean, that's the best you can do.
And right now, what's working the best for you? Is it an app? Is it email? I guess those are the only
It's a
two.
combination. I have to do all the things. So anything I put out on the app, I'm also putting out in the email blast. And I
Okay.
BCC everyone, which is a pro move.
Ooh, that's a pro. That is a marketing pro
It is a
move.
pro move.
That's from your old life.
I mean, and so how much time does that take out of your day?
I mean, for me, because I don't know, I like to think I'm pretty tech savvy. I'm pretty quick with things. Just because of doing it for so long elsewhere, it really doesn't take me that long. I would say 15 minutes or
Okay.
whatever to put down some communication in one channel and then copy and paste it into the other and
Gotcha.
then send it off because I can. I don't know. I've got access to all kinds of fun shortcuts for that, and I'm pretty well versed. But for some other teachers who are spending a lot of their time doing things of substance, like lesson planning, I don't know, or learning how to teach math the way that we're teaching math now. And they've been doing this for so long. Sitting down in front of a computer and putting out a bunch of communications about things is not one of the strong suits or things that they, want to sit down and spend time doing when they have so many other things on their plate.
Because you're sending out communications about things, and those are just dates, reminders, please do this, we're working on this. That's not even covering individual issues between a specific student in a family.
And every day there is that communication you have to send out about, and it's at least, one student per day where you have to go and let somebody know that something went down, or oh my gosh, God forbid it should be something amazing and just say, hey, guess what they did today that, hasn't happened before and it's so exciting. And that's something that we try to do. There's this philosophy about, putting out a positive communication first in the beginning of the year before you have to call a parent or email a parent about something negative that went down. And there's a lot of teachers that do that really, really well. And some that are really, really trying, like me. But I like that philosophy. So yeah, every day we need to communicate about something, not so savory that happened. And that can be really, really difficult because we're also sending that email to each other. Like, how does this sound?
Oh,
think I
sure.
could send it
Because
like
you have to
this?
be
Do you
so
think they're going to
careful.
be okay with, if I said it this way, do you think that I should point out first, blah, 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 blah. And we're just completely overthinking everything.
Now,
Yeah.
why are you overthinking?
We want to keep really amazing relationships with our families and our students. We want them to continue to trust us and know that, we're doing our best. So it's a constant wordsmithing of any email that goes out that's less than exciting.
Let me ask you, in this day and age, are you, because things like that are, can happen quickly, are you doing that during the school day? I feel like there's sometimes I would get a communication and then I'd be like, well, what are the kids doing that she has the time to do that? But you kind of have to, right? Otherwise.
Those things come up and they are definitely frowned upon.
It is frowned upon.
By
that's my
whom? By
question.
teachers?
Oh,
by
yeah,
parents? By everyone?
I think by parents, definitely. From teacher to teacher, I think that there's this unspoken thing where if you sent an email while the kids were during their reading time or something like that, then you do what you got to do, girl. But if an admin, principal or assistant principal or, somebody else who's not a classroom teacher is copied on it, they are definitely what are you doing?
Oh,
What are the kids
interesting.
doing? Please
Okay.
refrain from sending emails during instructional hours. Yeah.
Oh,
So
gosh,
we have
you're
to
supposed
wait
to do it before or after
we got to do it before
school?
school. We got to do it during lunch, during plan time. If it's not a data plan day, which most, so when kids are at specials or enrichments or whatever your school calls it, teachers have their plan time. And sometimes it truly is your free plan time. Go make copies, go, plan math for next week, whatever you need to do. But 2 to 3 days out of the week, that's time where everyone's coming together, looking at data, or receiving a training of some kind, or we're in a meeting room with administrators and we cannot open our laptops and email.
Yeah.
And you're definitely called out if you do. So there's probably I don't know, maybe 2-3 days tops during the week where your plan time you can actually be sending emails and getting communications done.
Gosh, it's behind the scenes, right? You
Yeah.
just don't, as a parent, think about. I mean, I guess if your sister's a teacher or you're very close to teachers, you may have thought more about this than I personally have. But there's a whole world of responsibility outside of your responsibility for our children.
It's huge. And so if you're getting an email from a teacher during the day when you know that the kids probably aren't at gym, they're probably not at lunch, you should feel very special.
Mm-hmm.
Special or
Very
concerned?
special. I put my ass on the line to give you an update on so and so. So
Oh, interesting.
And-
please feel special.
And
Appreciate it.
how much
Appreciate it.
nowadays are you actually just picking up the phone and calling parents. Does that ever happen? Or
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the positive communication thing that I was talking about. That's something that we try to do, where we actually call and talk about something amazing that happened. Um, if something serious went down, I would much rather pick up the phone and call before I send an email, and I always will, and I think most teachers do as well. So at any major concern or incident that happened, yeah, we want to actually speak so we can answer questions in the moment.
Mhm.
If we can't get a hold of either person or anyone that's on the list, then that's the point where we send an email for things like that. Otherwise, if it's just like a, hey, I've noticed that recently, um, I need like a generic
Sally.
name for Sally. Sally and Jasper would be the boy.
Oh, okay, Jasper.
Wow, just come up with
Just
that.
coming up with it. Yes. Like, what are they going to name their kids right now? Jasper. That's one.
Mhm.
Some mama's going to listen to this and be like, that bitch.
That's she
And
took
she
my
just
name.
stole my baby name.
She did. Why is she talking about Jasper that way? Yeah, like I've noticed recently that, Jasper's been really goofing off during math. I think that he's just not super confident about it right now. Maybe spend a little more time at home doing X, Y, and Z. That's something that I would email. Now, if Jasper is like picking up and throwing tables during math, then I would probably call and try to speak to a person.
Right. Which happens.
Yes. Oh, it does.
Jasper does that all the time.
all the
Jasper
time.
sucks.
I'm
Okay.
like, he's
So
notorious.
so that's communication from teachers to parents. Now,
Yes.
how are parents communicating back to you?
Like, what is fucking annoying?
Yeah, like what has got to stop?
Okay. Before school starts, like I'm running around like a mad person trying to get things copied, trying to put things out on tables, trying to like write the morning message on the board, trying to walk my son down to his classroom because that's something that I have to do. Also, my kid goes to the same school as,
Oh my
as me.
gosh.
That's a whole other layer.
Sure.
We don't have time. But
The whole
if
episode
you're
on that.
if you're knocking on my classroom door to like come in and ask me questions, I want to strangle you.
Oh, good to
Okay.
know.
That's oh man, that is so hard. Yeah, and I
In the
think that-
morning.
yeah, that's something that I put out there at back to school night just to let everyone know, because some people might not understand. Like that is the time of day when I am freaking out the most.
Okay.
Because it's like it's almost showtime.
Yeah.
Like as soon as the bell rings, it's like curtains up. I got to be on. Do I have my shit together? I don't know. So if you want to talk to me about like why your kid came home with like most of his lunch uneaten yesterday or something like that, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna freak out.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably the most annoying thing. I always appreciate just you getting those types of communications in an email, and I'll read them and respond whenever I can. Absolutely. And all of us read our email at least like twice a day, when
Mhm.
we can get in there. And then there's those crazy people doing it at night. Like I definitely have done that. And then right after school can also be very difficult,
Mhm.
but I understand after school, if there is something you got to talk about, that is much better than before school.
Okay.
So let's do it. Let's hash it out. Yeah. And
even though you say, please don't come in and ask me questions before school, does everyone listen, or do people just not give a you know
No.
what?
no, they do what they need to do
Okay.
because it's their kid, and yeah, they're
And
gonna
they didn't finish their lunch, and we
didn't
need to know
finish their- we
why.
need to know what's going on. What's happening?
Now
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm making fun of people who are concerned about their children's eating. I'm not. I understand that's also an issue sometimes.
We'll talk about it in private.
Yes.
Yeah. So but sometimes it is, a more serious issue, and that's why people, come to me before the bell rings in the morning. And yeah, I've had like some pretty heavy stuff laid on me, like
Really?
right before the bell rings, and it's like, okay, well, how am I supposed to handle that? And
Like what? Like more.
Oh,
Give us
dang.
examples.
Like dropping the bomb on like a kid, something that happened, or like laying into you.
yes, like something that happened, like maybe over the weekend that I need to be aware of.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
sad.
gosh.
Man. And then in those instances, it's like, yeah, I gotta know if
Mhm.
it's something really intense that is affecting this kid. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I'll be a little less prepared in my morning, to be able to receive that info and be as helpful to them as I possibly can be. I was at a school a few years ago that was a much different demographic in a totally different part of town, and and there was heavy stuff happening all the time. Like somebody's uncle was shot in like a gang situation.
Oh gosh.
Like the night before. I think it was like the night before Halloween, and so we had like all these fun things happening all day, and this girl was just so sad, and I didn't really get the communication about it until like halfway through the day. So I thought that she was just being, just like
A party pooper.
yeah, or just terrible because she was like sad that she didn't have the costume that she wanted or something like that, So, and I had no idea, and it would have just been really nice for someone to give me a little heads up about that so I could support her a little more. And again, it's like part of just the parent communication. That parent drops off and they go straight to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I have so many of those. I'm that parent. I drop off and I go straight to my classroom, and I do not have time to talk to you about why, he's crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate.
Bye, Conrad. Love you.
You're gonna be okay. You're a strong kid.
You're fine. You're just fine. Don't remember that I'm here.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So before school, not so good. If
Right.
You can
unless
keep it together.
yeah,
unless
there's something
dire.
serious, then I would absolutely love to hear what's going on so I can help. Yeah, before school's not great. Calling the classroom in the middle of the day.
there's phones in the
What?
classroom.
Yes.
Like a real phone, like a phone on like a wall.
Yeah, like a landline, which is always across
Is that in every school or just your school?
every school.
Every school has a phone.
Every school I've been to has a landline directly to the classroom. Absolutely.
How
I
do
didn't
these
even-
people get that number?
I just called it a phone on a wall instead of a landline because that's how unfamiliar I am.
there's like a spiral cord that I like.
I love
have
that.
to take
I
all the
want
way
one.
across the
It's
room.
like a bat phone.
It kind of is. Yeah, it's a red phone. It rings when there's an emergency. No,
And it rings.
yes,
No, Tracy.
Well, I don't like. Does it ring a lot? That's from
It
parents.
can. So I don't totally know how parents are getting through on this phone sometimes. I think that they are like calling, the front office, and our
saying
front
it's
office.
an emergency or something.
Yes,
Oh God.
I think that that's what's happening.
This has happened. So go back. This has happened. You have picked up the phone and it has not been an emergency.
and it's not been an emergency. It's been Bob is picking up Cecilia today.
Shut it.
Let Cecilia know Bob is picking her up today. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
I'm in the middle of unpacking a learning target.
You could have
ma'am.
bloomsed me.
You could have bloomsed it.
Wow.
You could have.
Isn't that what the front office is for though? To
That's what
field
the
those
front-
calls?
Exactly. And so our front office ladies are vigilant.
Yes.
Like they do not mess around.
Mm-mm.
And if you get on their bad side, you are shunned for life, right?
Well, that's what
they
happened.
keep it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that explains a lot. But I don't. Try to be nice.
What I do.
I
Oh,
know.
you've like brought bagels to your ladies in the office. I've never done that.
Okay.
Why they work hard?
That would
I
help.
know. It
One
would
of-
help.
yes.
I'm gonna bagel it this year.
Do it.
should.
Everyone just bring bagels to the front office. Those ladies
front
work
office
their
ladies.
asses off. Just stop by Einstein's.
Yeah. And what's great is
Drop it off.
then they share those treats with the teachers that they like most.
Oh, snap. So there's like a
This
whole
is
hierarchy of
inside
treat
info.
sharing.
Mhm. Oh yes,
Okay.
totally.
And then are the parents credited for those treats is really what I want to know. Like, are you given props? Or are they like,
Yes.
So,
oh,
like Tracy brought these
they're like
bagels.
Evie's mom brought these in, and then Evie gets treated better. Is that the trickle down effect? Does she get special?
I think in some ways, yes. I think in
Everybody's
some ways,
listening
yes.
to this podcast right now and started their cookies. They're like,
They
all right,
should.
flour. What do
They
I have in
need
the
to.
house?
I know.
Yes.
Just okay.
I'll tell you, our front office people, there is a peanut allergy.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh,
so watch
good
out
to
for that.
know.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. I don't know how these calls are getting through because those ladies are usually very, very on it. I've also had parents come down, come to pick up their kid. And so that the front office will call me and I'll pick up that phone, the landline, as I previously mentioned. And they'll say, so-and-so is going home. And okay, so kid, Sally, Jasper, go get your backpack. And they're heading down, but then the parent decides to come to the classroom and take that moment in the middle of the day to
Oh.
ask me how things are going.
No,
With
no,
their
no.
kid?
About their kid?
Not just
Yes.
being nice for you. Like, hey, how's your day going?
No, not about me. No, it's never about
It's never.
me.
You're not a human.
No.
You're just a vessel.
a vessel of knowledge.
Yes, you
You
are.
have like an umbilical cord that goes
You
from
do.
my brain to your child's
That's
brain.
right.
And that's how they learn.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
So they're like they want like a little quickie conference.
just a little status update.
while there's like 30 other kids running
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Right. They do not care. They do not care what's going on. They
How
wanna
does
know what's going
again
on.
though? How does the front office? Because I'm not allowed to go pick up my
Right.
kiddo.
How does that happen? They sneak. Okay. So I go and I asked, I said, how did Sally's
seems
mom
safe.
Sneak.
make it down to my room today? And I'm like, she did not. I said, yes, she did. And so I sort of like put the kibosh on it.
You reverse fucked her over in the office. Like you reported on Sally's mom,
I
and now
did.
those ladies hate her.
And now they do. And now every
They're
time
like, here's the sneaker.
Sally's mom comes to get her,
They're like,
they
hold, please.
they put a tail on her, and and so she tries to come to my room. They follow her to my room and like stand there while she's trying to talk to
No.
me.
And
Oh my
then
God,
do they
that's
say,
amazing.
let's keep
Yep,
it moving,
they're like,
lady?
all right, let's go. All right, got your stuff.
Oh
All
my
right, let's go. Great
gosh.
job getting all your
Great
things
job.
together, Sally.
Great job, mom.
Oh, no,
Let's
to
get
Sally.
outta here.
Oh, to Sally.
To Sally, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, this is good to know.
Okay. And that happens often.
Mhm.
The sneakers happen often.
It was weekly for a minute, and then I had to like suck it up and say something. I had
With
to,
one
like,
particular parent, or it just was happening with all parents?
there were probably like 3 parents where I think I was being a little too lenient.
Cool about it.
Yeah, I was being a little too cool about it. And it's coming from this place of like, oh, I'm a parent who's also a teacher, and so now I'm understanding the reasons for all of these behaviors, and I totally get
Parental
it.
behaviors.
Yes, and you, this kid is like the most important thing in your life, and you're going to do all kinds of unsavory things to make sure they get everything that they need. I totally understand where this is coming from, and so I want to, I don't know, I want to help out. I want to be I don't know, cooperative. But not at the expense of like all the other kids in the classroom
Yeah.
in the middle of the day. So I had to say to, I think, 3 parents in particular, during school hours, I am not available to talk. And they
Because
were,
I'm teaching your child.
I'm teaching
I'm teaching
your
30
child.
children.
Yeah.
and all the other children.
And all the other ones.
If you want to talk about something, please send me an email, and I would be happy to make time to talk to you in
Mhm.
person if that's what you'd like to do. And they were definitely like a little, I don't know, not
Little put off.
seeming a little perceptive or receptive about it, but I
Mhm.
could tell like the look on their face, like, how dare you?
Well,
Ugh.
it is interesting, right? Because there's all kinds of different parents in this world. And there are the parents that are, and God bless them, 100%, I'm advocating for my child. I don't give a shit.
Mhm.
And I'm not like that. I'm much more self-conscious. So I actually admire that to a certain extent, because I feel like, am I not doing enough for my
Yeah,
child? Am I
that's how
being
I am
too
too.
cool? Like, am I stepping back too far and kind of saying, oh, they're fine because they're healthy and happy kids,
Mhm.
and not really, really, so, there's that extreme. And then like you're saying, as a parent, you're like, well, I get how you could be that way.
But how much is too much advocating? I mean, at what point do you want what's the line? Like, where do you feel the most comfortable between a parent and teacher relationship in terms of us not calling you out, but bringing attention to something, or making sure our kid has the best case scenario on a day-to-day basis versus just letting it play out? Like, what do you want? What do you like?
That's a really complicated question. I think that's something that we're dealing with in most schools right now, and that teachers have probably one of the biggest problems with, is are we communicating enough about this or that with parents? Are we giving them enough information? Are we giving them the proper channels to be able to advocate and voice their concerns? What we really want is for parents to trust us and trust our decisions about things, and know that every adult in the building is there to do what's best for all the students that are there, individually and as a whole unit. We've got teachers, we have support staff that include like our school psychologist and our social worker, even the front office people, are what we call like first responders, who can come and help us when there are situations where we have kids that are dealing with something. We have literally every adult in the building is working to make sure everything is copacetic, and so we just really want parents to trust us and know that we're putting in all this energy to make sure that everyone is successful academically, socially, emotionally, all of it. So but there are times when things are not as organized. Like let's say there are things that are happening outside of our eye line. Okay, I've got 2 eyes and I've got like 30 kids, right? So let's say something else happens that I have no idea about. And it happens pretty often where a kid will go home and tell their parent about something that I had no idea went down. So yeah, you've got to call and find out what's going on. And the sooner you do it, the better. So, if you suspect that they are falling behind in some area, as soon as it's on your radar, just send an email about it. When things start getting, I don't know, a little more out of hand, then it's like 3/4 through the school year and we're just hearing from somebody. That's when things can get really difficult and kind of hard to manage. I also know that some teachers like to be communicated with directly about things that are going on with their kids, rather than parents going directly to a principal.
Oh yeah,
right
that was
away
my
about
next question.
something.
Or do those teachers prefer? I never know what to do, right? Like, sometimes I'll CC a principal out of like just to keep the communication flowing,
Sure.
or because but I never know if that's like ratting out the teacher or
Yeah, I really think it depends on the teacher.
okay.
Because for me, I see that as also like covering my ass, covering your ass.
Yeah.
We have all been in communication about this thing that is going on. So yeah, it would seem appropriate to include everyone. And if your principal is a good principal that supports teachers, they'll come say, okay, do you want to give me some information about what's going on here? Come to me as a teacher, and get some of the backstory, so that they can be supportive, to everybody in the conversation. But sometimes you have a school that's not that way, and your principal is like, what's going on here? Why am I getting this email from this parent? Please keep
Yeah.
your parents in line. But that's, I don't know, that's not super common. I think that just, going directly to the teacher, first, I think that looping in other staff is appropriate if you know that those other staff are involved.
Right. Well, it depends on the situation, right?
Yeah.
So if it's like an overall school communication issue, which I had a couple years ago, then, it was the teacher and the principal and everybody involved. But if it was like something about my kids' reading time or level or
Yeah.
an emotional thing that happened in the classroom, I'm assuming I would just contact the teacher.
Yep, exactly.
But I have common sense.
Yeah. And then when there are things that involve other students, this is something that I've seen a lot of. It's never appropriate for a parent of one student to inquire about the other student or go to the other student's parents. And I see it all the time.
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like include them in an email or talk
So
to
like
the
go
parent
to
directly?
them, to go to them directly about something that happened between the kids, like at school. So
Okay, why?
all right, so let's talk about why. If let's say that Sally and Jasper had an altercation at recess. Sally goes home, says that Jasper's been bullying her. Jasper goes home and says Sally has been bullying him. So those parents could come directly to us. We could talk to, whoever was there at recess, which is also another thing. We're not at recess with your child.
Right.
I have no idea what's going on. There are other people who are out there, but also there's like maybe 1 or 2 of them. And then like
1,000 children.
like 60 kids,
Yeah.
It's so many.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to deal with. That's why we're trying to like give them those emotional skills up front to be able to go out there and handle their
Sure.
lives. But, it doesn't work out that way. They're like 8. Anyway, so Sally's mom calls me and says, I need Jasper's mom's phone number so I can talk to her about why her son has been bullying my daughter. Meanwhile, Jasper's parents are like, he came home with like a scrape on his arm from when like Sally pushed him down. So we've got parents that are asking for like private information about other students' families, and wanting to hash things out directly rather than coming to us and finding out the whole story and letting us help them and their kids work things out so that it doesn't happen in the future.
See, I'm okay.
What
I
do
don't
you
agree
think?
with that.
All right, tell me why.
Because-
Tell me why.
Because outside of school, that's what happens all the time, right? Kids get together and play, and you talk to the mom, and you're like, You work it out with the parent who is the parent of the child. Conversely, if my kid did something against another kid, I would want her to apologize, and I would want to apologize to the parent, or have my kid apologize to the parent, and I would want to talk to the parent because the teacher wasn't there. Why does the teacher have to be the mediator?
Because sometimes these families don't know each other already, and then you've got one family that's like, I don't want to have direct communication with you about this. I want my my kids to be able to work this out. This was something that happened at school, and the people who were there need to help them deal with it and move forward and not have these situations again. This isn't between us. This is a school issue. However, if you did know the other family, if it was something that happened outside of it, I think that would be more appropriate. But it opens up a whole thing where then you have parents going directly to one another, and then things exploding totally out of proportion.
sure.
So then when it comes back and say the issue arises again at school, then there's all of this other stuff that developed totally outside of our earshot. Things that communication we had no idea was going on, or things that you sorted out that we weren't part of, and so then it makes it so much more difficult for us to be able to support those students.
Do you ever have, if there's an altercation between two students, do you ever have both parents come in and everyone actually just talk to each other? Because I feel like that's the miss. I mean, I've had friends that have had really bad things happen to their kids, and the school won't even tell them, they tell the kid, you can't tell your mom who did this. And then the kid, and then they don't know who it is. And the name of the kid is never said. And I feel like that's really taking power away from a parent who needs to protect their child and solve it. The parent still knows the best way to solve the problem for the kid. And I totally get that they're not there, but like, it seems to me at that situation, if both parents were in a room and there was a principal or a teacher, then you could talk about it. But this back and forth and these unknowns and waiting for bits and pieces of communication doesn't seem effective.
It's really frustrating, and I'm totally with you on that. I think that as a parent, when my kid has been in those situations, getting like bitten at daycare or something like that, right? That's the only thing that's coming up for me, because again, like he is almost 5, or no, he did get like sort of beat up at recess one day, and because I'm there in the school, I was able to know who the kid was,
and threaten his life.
Exactly. No, I told my husband about it. I sent him like a text in the middle of the day, like blah 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 blah. This happened, Conrad, yada yada yada, and he was like, "Well, I guess I have to beat up his dad now."
I mean,
like that was the first thing.
That's how you do it in the Wild West.
Right? Yes, no, exactly. And then like 5 minutes later, he realized like, oh man, that's an insane line of thinking that I just went through.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. So I totally get that. And that's our instinct. And we want to sit down and we want to hash things out and make sure that these things don't happen again, to our kids, and talk to these other families or these other kids and understand why these things are going down. And that would be great if everybody was going to be cool about it. But the thing is that sometimes you're dealing with people who get extremely passionate and very, very emotional about things happening to their kids. And then they start laying blame in places that are really not appropriate. And
I think this is like an extreme circumstance. I mean, Shay and I have both, and we have girls, so like we've dealt with girl drama and our girls being left out or ignored or made fun of. And I think Shay and I both, like, we kind of just, it's hard, but you try to let it play out because that's part of growing up. And I would never call a mom like, Sally didn't let Evie play in whatever weird game they were playing. I would never do that. I'm talking about like, hey, your kid, like, I'll give you another example. This kid did something really bad to my daughter at the end of the school year, and he thought he was being funny, but it ended up she like fell back and like he pulled the chair out of her while she was trying to sit and thought she was being funny, but then like nailed her head on the desk and like fell forward, and it was horrible. That mom sent the nicest, I do know her, but the mom sent the nicest email to me and was like, here's the steps that we're taking to teach him why this was wrong. Here's what he said. And here's when, he's going to apologize to her. And I was just like, thank you so much for like taking ownership of that. And those things happen. Of course they happen. And then I got the chance to talk to my daughter about why he made a bad choice, but that doesn't mean he's a terrible human, So,
right. I know, and that's awesome, and that's an incredible, experience to be able to have, and resolution for something terrible that happened. And that mom did an awesome job, and you guys already had a relationship, so that made it so much easier. It's some of these families that
Yeah.
maybe don't already have a relationship, or might be a little bit, offended or wonder why this happened in the first place. Well, he pulled the chair out because she took it from him, and she's been taking his chair
Right.
every day
Mhm.
for the last month. I've been in situations where parents will get their kids together to like fight it out, and then sometimes the parents fight.
You mean physically?
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Like they're like Fight Club for kids?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've been in situations where the parents have like gotten together to like hash it out, and it ends up getting physical. Okay, so if that is a scenario that can possibly happen, which if when I started,
please utilize the teacher.
Mhm, yeah. And when I started, teaching and student teaching and hearing about these things happening in schools, it was like, yeah, I grew up in like a, not the best neighborhood in Colorado Springs, and I did experience that.
Mhm.
I did experience things where outside of school, when parents were involved, they got real trashy about it, and it was really, really bad.
Right.
And then at that previous school that I told you about, I was only there for a year, and there were two scenarios in which things were happening among students. Parents started taking it into their own hands, and then it ended up being like an altercation between parents. And so, if
Mm.
that's a thing that could possibly happen, we're just not going to let anyone do it.
Yeah.
And I don't
Mhm.
think that that's the 100% reason behind it, but that would be my reason
Mm.
for not bringing families together.
Because not
to-
everybody's that mature. I mean, that was
Mhm.
obviously a very mature situation from that other parent.
or
But
it, or it starts out mature, and it
Yeah.
starts out really positive. But then if things continue, or somebody, something else even minor happens, and then Jasper's mom gets wind of it, she's going to call up Sally's mom and say, "All right, you know what? Enough is enough.
right.
This is done, and we're taking some kind
Mm.
of action, because we opened up that scenario for them to have these communications, and then for things to escalate."
So are there really parents out there whose kid can do no wrong
Oh, absolutely.
and they're
Their,
just
their child has never instigated a situation, and their child is constantly bullied. Yes. Yes. And that is so frustrating, because every kid is different at home than they are at school.
Mm.
Right? That's one major part of it. Is when your kid is at school, they behave completely differently because they're around a whole different set of people. A new side of them comes out
Mm.
with capabilities that you have never even dreamed of. Positive and sometimes negative.
Sure.
Right? They open up in ways that you can't even imagine. And I wish that I could put like a camera in my room and
Mm.
like let you see what's going on, but then I also know, because
They would know their parents would be watching and they wouldn't do it.
Right.
and they would see like how we digress from math into like Avengers stuff, and like what's going on in the Marvel universe right now.
Mhm.
And then I would lose my job. Yeah, so things are totally different. It's really hard for parents to understand what comes out of that, and what kinds of behaviors evolve from all these different situations.
That is an
Yeah.
interesting thing to think about. I mean, I honestly can say, like, I just imagine that my children are exactly the same at school. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
that I've
it's-
thought that much about,
How awesome they are when they're not around us.
yeah, or not awesome. I mean, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
right.
they're pretty well behaved kids. I don't know. I don't know what's instigated at school. I mean, I can imagine. It's just it's like it's like a parenting complex. Like, you just would
know.
imagine they're exactly the same, and they're
Right,
not.
right, and you have no
Mm.
idea, and then it drives you nuts. Like, one of
Yeah.
Conrad's parents, weird. That's me. One of his teachers told me, "Oh, he's the best sharer." I was like, "What?
Oh, really?
What? He shares things with other children? Yeah, he likes to make sure that everyone's got something."
Like, who is
And I
this
was
And he's
child?
not like that at home.
That's amazing. Not always, because he's
Oh.
got a little sister, and
Sure.
things can be difficult. But no, I've definitely seen him be pretty decent at sharing at home. I just didn't expect it to be
Like a
like
noticeable
his thing,
Yeah.
at school. So that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
But then he also like completely freaked out on his music teacher one day, and because he was upset that she wanted him to put away the drums, and he said he like yelled at her.
Oh.
And so I got to hear about that, and I was like, oh
From
my
him or from the
gosh.
music teacher?
From the music teacher, of course, because I'm in the building. So she came to my classroom like in the middle,
In
of,
the
the
middle
day,
of the
of
day.
course.
No.
Oh,
In the middle of the day. Oh, I
Busted.
know. Like, this is a whole other story. Anyway, but so then I had to like visualize, like why did he do that? Does he do that sort of thing at home? What does he say to me when I freak out? Or does he freak out when I tell him it's time to, clean something up and we have to go? I don't know.
And then how much did you believe the teacher?
I mean, I had to.
Yeah.
She's number one. She's his teacher. She came to me with something that happened. I've got to hear her out and take it seriously. She's also my colleague, and
Right.
and she did not want to have to come down and tell me that. She could have done it at the end of the day.
Definitely not the beginning of the
Sure.
day. You'll cut
Definitely not
her.
the beginning.
Don't
Now I'm going through every time that I like had something to tell Miss Kate last year, and
At
like
the beginning of the day and how much she
absolutely, like,
hates you.
just really quickly. Oh, here's just this.
Just
you
really
know,
quickly? That's the worst.
But it was never talking about my son's behavior or anything. It was always just like a question, because I'm really bad at reading things from the backpack. Like
Yes.
I know now I'm feeling really like I'm going to send her a
Oh,
Starbucks
man.
card
Okay.
or
If it's
something.
Listen, if it's not like, I don't know.
Well, it was
a whole
always very
conversation.
hectic. I mean, and
Yeah.
just real quick. That's
know.
like those are like the worst
I'm the
words to
worst.
hear from someone.
But now my kids are better about just getting out of the car, and I don't have to walk them in anymore.
So Shay and I talk about this all the time. So my school has like a 0 walk-in policy. You drop them and they go.
So
And
jealous.
I know, and you spend hours, it seems like,
Sometimes.
every morning. Which do you prefer?
That's a really good
It
question.
seems to me that the least amount of parents in the school at the beginning of the morning
mean-
would be the best for the kids too.
Yeah.
Because my daughter, if I hung around, she would want me to stay longer, and it's harder
Absolutely.
for her to transition versus just booting her out of the car while I'm slowly rolling in car line.
Yeah.
You know.
Plus, then you don't have to
And-
put a bra on.
I mean that too, or shoes.
Oh, come on. You've been on our playground. All right.
I'm definitely braless.
People show up how they show.
Man,
I
by
have
the
my
end of the
coffee in my
year,
hand and my hustle sweatshirt.
by the end of the year last year, like I was barely dressed. Like sometimes if I had to get out and help her out of the car, I was like, I would hide behind the doors just so people didn't see like how little clothing I actually had on
Oh no.
while driving.
No. I have to keep extras in my classroom. Like there's days I forget to put on deodorant.
Oh, well, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
it's
You're
just-
a mom
it's
and a
bad.
teacher. So okay, so what
Okay,
was the question?
so-
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
drop off
Prefer
versus
Dropping
walk-in.
off. I feel like we have a healthy mix of both at this school that I'm at right now. We have some people that just like drop and they drive away, and some that until they are in 5th grade are walking their kids to the door and waiting for the bell. I don't know. I think that it is much easier to transition when the parents are not there. But I also think that should start at, I don't know, maybe like the middle and later grades. I get it for EC, for kindergarten, maybe even a little bit of 1st grade. But I feel like they have a much easier transition when parents are out of the picture and they can just come in and get started.
And
Mhm.
so along those same lines, volunteering time, like how
Mhm.
much do you appreciate parents in your classroom, and how much are you kind of like, please, this isn't helpful?
Yeah, and I think that every teacher is different. That's another thing where it just depends on the teacher, what their
You're so
philosophy is.
judicious.
You are. You were in marketing.
What's
You have been in the corporate world.
the
Public
volunteer
relations.
quota?
Yeah, it's just whatever the policy of the teacher is. A lot of teachers I've talked to have, we have like this first 6 weeks of school thing that we talk about, how we're building our classroom community. In the first 6 weeks, we're not inviting in volunteers. And it's also very nice because then I can say, okay, but admin, I also need you to not like come in and observe me during that time because I'm building classroom community.
Oh,
So everyone just needs to
Well, those
stay
are
the
some
hell out of my
dicey.
classroom.
Those are some the early weeks are.
That's a whole
We're just
thing.
getting to
I mean,
know
the kids' brains
everybody.
are just reforming
Yeah.
from summer, and
Yes.
like
Um,
they're all just like bleh.
the
Absolutely.
sunscreen is
No, I
melting
know,
off.
they have they forgot everything.
Everything.
Yeah, they finally took a bath.
Like how many 4th graders am I gonna have to like teach how to read
Right,
again,
right.
you know,
Well,
or, like,
Like,
exactly.
let's start with the alphabet, friends. Let's just go through it.
exactly. 6 and 4 make 10. Write it down.
Instead of reading time before bed these days, we watch Modern Family as a family.
Oh my God.
Yes.
We're like,
It's
oh, it's almost
summer.
bedtime. We can get one more episode
That's
in.
hilarious.
One more wild.
There's always like
I know.
one highly inappropriate sexual reference.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And then but everything else is fine. But Chris and I always kind of look at each other and then we just see it just goes right over their heads and we're like, okay, we're safe. We're safe.
Yeah, I think that some parents are way more helpful than others, and I think it really depends on the teacher and the parent, right? But I appreciate somebody coming in and like organizing my classroom library, you know, and just helping like put some of those things away. I
This
also
is a call for help.
It
She's
is,
like,
it is. And I know that a lot of other teachers appreciate that too. That's just something
good
to throw
to, that's
out
a
there.
good thing to know.
I
Well,
appreciate.
don't you have like specific like we have specific calls? Like there's like a parent, they want parents in on Thursdays to stuff folders because we have a Thursday folder with all the info. So on Thursday you
Yeah.
have to read. There's
Oh.
only
Some
one
parents do that.
folder.
I do not have a folder. That sounds like another thing that I'd have to worry about, and so I've never
Agree.
done a folder.
Yeah.
If there was
Yeah.
a folder in our classroom, I don't know about it.
I'm
I'm not surprised
we
at
only
all
have
at
the
myself.
Thursday one. Sometimes
Yeah.
it does not get read till Monday, but there's the Thursday.
Right. I'm also though the teacher that's like taking that stack of flyers and putting it directly into the recycling bin. I am
Yeah.
not
Oh,
sending that
really?
shit home. Sometimes
Okay.
that's
Oh, interesting.
I don't know, and then I forget about it. So it's do we really need another set of Skate City coupons? You
I
know?
mean, I can't.
I've never gotten a Skate City coupon.
Ugh.
I will pass them along.
You don't need them. It's already very cheap.
Okay,
Okay,
so like, and like, are there actually parents that come in and volunteer? So it sounds like you guys have a more loosey goosey, like parents can just like wander in and just say they're here to volunteer.
Not
or
really. No, definitely
No.
not. It's not like a hey, I'm here to volunteer right now. What do you have for me to do? Like that's never
Okay.
gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we have to plan for our volunteers, or we have to train somebody to be able to do these things. It's also really nice if you have somebody that can be putting out the communications about, you know, like back to school night's happening this day,
Mm.
field day is this day. Just
Mhm.
Like the
you do
room
that.
parent.
Exactly.
We had
the
a room dad
parent.
last year. I was super impressed.
Mm.
I had a room dad last year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I
He
love
kept
that.
everyone. He tried to get them to line up in the morning for me. It was really cute.
Why?
Didn't work.
No,
That's
absolutely
funny.
not. They're just like, who are you? What is this? What's happening? Yeah. So, being able to roll up a whole bunch of laminated stuff and just saying like, here, take this home and cut it out for me. Like
Ooh.
that's a good volunteer
Oh.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it really just depends on your teacher. You just got to ask the teacher, say, hey, I've got this kind of time. Could I do something?
Mm.
And yeah, maybe they'll have something, maybe they don't. Mm-hmm.
What are this is a
Universal. This is a universal. I'm going to speak for Shayna. It's summer, guys. Speaking of melted brains, hold please. It's been a lot of kids on our bodies for a long time. Every parent wants to know what the hell to buy for teachers for teacher gifts.
Oh yeah, we've had like Band of Mothers group conversations about this at the
Yeah.
end of the year for sure. And my number one question is wine appropriate?
I think that if you know that this teacher partakes in the wine, then wine is absolutely appropriate.
And it can like enter school premises without like lockdown happening.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They're like, lockdown, we got a bottle of wine, vodka. Oh my
In
god.
elementary school.
Well, vodka might be a little less appropriate. I don't know.
I don't know. Why not?
I don't know. I don't
Why?
know. No, I've
Booze is booze.
seen. Yeah, I have had colleagues before receive like a nice bottle of bourbon at
Ooh.
school, and I was like, okay, I guess that's all right.
It feels like it should be
seems
wrong, but
like
if you're
it's
not
okay.
drinking
not
it,
open.
and it's
I'm
not
gonna
like on the
say-
desk.
Yeah, I'm gonna say unofficially. If it's not open, if it's like in a bag, you can't
Mhm.
see it, then I think it's fine.
Right.
Yeah. So if you know that teacher partakes in that sort of thing, then yeah, absolutely.
But
Get
what's
them-
your preference? Like, what would you?
What do
would
you want?
What do I want? Oh,
what do
geez.
teachers want?
Yeah. It really, again,
A
it
mug that
depends
says world's
on the
best
teacher.
teacher.
Always a mug.
Pencils.
Please no more mugs. I did ask this question. I had a whole bunch of ladies over to my house. I had like a C-section club. I can't remember
Oh,
what I was
fun.
calling it, but
Oh.
I have a whole bunch of friends who recently had babies via C-section, and I had both of mine via C-section also. So I said, all right, let's get all of y'all together, and you can hash it out.
You can hash it. We can all talk about
We
our
could
very
talk-
tight vaginas.
Exactly, just pristine. I don't know how vaginas work. All right.
You should
so
listen to our podcast. We talk about it a lot. I'm finally starting to figure it all out myself.
This is just like the stretching. Does it come back? I don't know. Okay, so there were
Yes.
at least two. All right, thank you. There were at least two other teachers that were there, and so some of these other moms were like, "Hey, what do you guys want?"
Yeah.
And it was almost collectively these other ladies said, "Not a Starbucks gift card."
Oh, I just said like 10 minutes ago I was going to get Kate a Starbucks gift
I
card.
know, and but the thing is
How
I'm
much
like,
coffee can
I'm
you
fine
possibly
with
drink?
that.
Oh.
I'm fine
Oh.
with a Starbucks gift card because yeah, I drive by a Starbucks to drop off my daughter to daycare, and I've got Conrad in the car with me. And if we are early enough, because I can't drop her till 7:30, how terrible is that? The bell rings at my school at 8.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
gosh.
I
that's
drop her off
tight.
till 7:30. So if I'm out the door and I've got like 10 minutes to spare, we're going through the drive-through, and Conrad's getting a banana bread, and
Yeah.
I'm getting like the egg bites or
And
whatever.
why not
So,
have it
yeah,
paid for?
I'll
Yeah.
totally take a Starbucks gift card.
Interesting,
When I was
though.
a student teacher, I dropped so many burrito hints and like Chipotle references in hopes that I was going to get Chipotle gift cards at the end of my little
Oh.
tenure, and I did. Like it
Okay.
worked. Yes.
So I had a friend that she taught, and she was like, and she quit to have kids. And she's like, I just finished going through my Starbucks gift cards like 2 years later or something
Yeah.
like that.
Do you think it's because it doesn't feel thoughtful or because
I
they
Everyone
want
does
something
it.
else? Because I also heard that Amazon gift cards are the way to go. That's what the response on our
Yeah.
site
Ooh.
was.
Yeah.
That everybody wanted an
I mean, who
Amazon gift
doesn't?
card.
Exactly. Yeah. No, Amazon gift cards are fantastic because yeah, we're absolutely spending tons of money on our classrooms and on ourselves on Amazon. Definitely. Yeah, wine, awesome. Gift cards for wine or booze related things, even like a good liquor store coupon or not
Oh.
coupon gift card
Oh.
would be
That's
amazing
nice.
too.
What if you didn't want to do a gift card? You wanted like an item. Like
Like
I got a couple years ago, or this last year, I think I got oil diffusers for the
Mhm.
teachers because I was like, you
Yes.
could use it in your classroom or your home.
I was excited. Yeah, I was definitely excited to receive one of those because I used it in my classroom and now I have one for home. Yeah, and it's awesome because it smells like butt in there. And so if you can do something to combat
Oh my
that,
God, it
a
smells like butt.
diffuser sounds
Tracy,
great.
you should make an oil called like No Butt. Or
I
like,
will, because I gave diffusers at the beginning of the year
Sure.
to that, and I'm going to do that again. I'll make a
Butt free.
smells like butt blend.
Get rid of
It smells like not butt.
Yeah.
Not butt blend. Oh my
yeah,
God.
that sounds good. One of the teachers that I talked to said that she still has massage gift cards she hasn't used. And I'm like,
Oh.
what are you doing?
Well, who has the time? That's hard.
Well, that
That's
is hard.
true.
I mean, my husband has one right now, and I just want it so bad. I'm just like, just give
Well,
it to
and
me
it's
if you're
like a
not
lot
going
of
to use
pressure.
it.
Exactly.
Then it's like, oh, I have this free time on Saturday. I guess I should just go get a massage that I don't really want. Like it's just like looming over you. I wouldn't
Right.
like that. Those would stress me out.
Yeah.
Mm.
However, one of my coworkers did receive a gift card to a really nice spa. And
Gosh.
Oh,
so
that's
she was
nice.
able to use
That's
that.
expensive. I mean,
And
that's
it is
big
expensive. So
gift.
the parents pooled together and
Oh,
got
okay.
her that.
Got it.
This past year, my parents pooled together and they got me a gift certificate for a dance studio because they know that I like to take dance lessons of different
I love
styles. And I was
that.
like, that's really, really nice
That's
because they were
so-
thinking about like the things that I like to do that don't involve my kids or my family or my job. It wasn't like a mug that said Miss Josie. And I still haven't freaking used it, but
Oh.
I plan to, and I'm really excited about
Yeah,
it.
That's nice.
Okay,
So
so
that was
worst
cool.
gifts are mugs. No more mugs, everybody.
Yeah, I think we're done with mugs. Getting school supplies is like, it's like it's like getting a broom for Mother's Day.
Right.
Right.
Like that's just mean.
Do you ever? Okay, well, this is do you ever call out for supplies that you need, and do parents bring them in, or do you just buy them yourself and take the hit?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little both. So if I don't get things in time, then yeah, I'll absolutely go out and buy it myself, or I'll Amazon Prime it.
Mhm.
And just know that I'm going to have it. But yeah, it's really nice to be able to put it out there and say like, I need 30 composition notebooks, and then all of a sudden you have them. That's very nice.
What's
That's
the most
great.
inappropriate gift you've ever gotten,
Oh.
or a teacher that you've heard of in the field?
I don't know.
Has anyone gotten lingerie?
They have not.
God, that'd be so ridiculous.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of inappropriate. I don't know. You never know.
I've tried this bra on and
Appropriate
it's really
gifts.
comfortable. I
You're
thought you
gonna
should
love
use this
it.
bra.
That's yeah. You know what? I felt like the bourbon was the most inappropriate.
Kind of shocking.
But
It doesn't
then,
seem right, but
but then
is
I don't know.
right.
Looking back, it's like she really appreciated getting that bourbon.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that everyone's just really excited. You know that they were thought of. You know, or whatever.
And
That's
what
good.
happens if you don't give a gift?
I don't know. Like for me, nothing. It's like that's fine. I don't expect to get gifts from anyone. In some schools, I've gotten like way more gifts. In some schools, I gotten like no gifts. I was at one school where I got really not really anything for Teacher Appreciation Week, but Valentine's Day rolled around and I I had chocolate for a year.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
gosh.
It was nuts. Yeah.
Interesting.
And not even the good kind. So I just, I shared it with all the kids and
Not
they
even the
thought
good
that was
kind.
awesome.
Yeah, Teacher Appreciation Week is hard because it's always in the middle of like, isn't it always? I think it's in May or at
We're
least is
always
our,
touring. I didn't do anything this
and
year.
I'm just like, I just can't. And then you got to turn
know.
around and give another gift at the end of the year.
Oh, I know.
And then what
Yeah,
about
no,
the
that's
front
too
office?
much.
Like
I agree.
how many gifts? I mean, it's expensive for on
Mhm.
the parent side. Like, do you give gifts to all the teachers? Do you give just to the main homeroom?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. I think that just the main homeroom teachers. I think
I
that
feel
makes
bad
the
for the
most
specials
sense.
teachers. They get shit.
You know,
Some people give them stuff,
maybe
you know?
we could trade off.
I
don't
sucked it
know.
up one year and gave like $15 Target cards to all the specials. But
That's
I mean,
amazing.
It's really nice.
that was,
It's
yeah, but
very
it was really
nice.
fucking expensive.
Yeah.
I think even like $5 Starbucks gift cards, like God forbid it's like more Starbucks. But it's a thing. If you want to do a thing, then give a thing.
So like you're okay with like a $5 gift? You're not like,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, even like a card. I had a kid like make me a card at the end of the year. And it was just like really sweet. And she cut things out from magazines and put it on it.
oh,
And I'm probably not going to keep it forever, but I really, really liked that.
Yeah,
that's
that's very
sweet.
that's thoughtful.
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, it's again, it depends on your teacher, and I think it's absolutely appropriate to ask at the beginning of the year things like, what are some of your favorite things? Like
Oh,
where do you go? Are you a dark chocolate or milk chocolate kind of lady?
maybe on Band of Mothers we could do like a
But you're like-
teacher gift questionnaire that we could all print out, and then you could just like give it to your teachers, and then they could give it
Oh,
back,
we
and
could
it's
put
like
it on Band of Mothers, like a little
Yeah,
printout.
a little
That's
printout
fun.
for everyone, and then we can like then it's like it's a thing, and you don't feel
Mhm.
so invasive.
Ooh, idea. Okay. Gift cards for local places, like places that are around where the school is. That is something that I heard from a lot of the teachers this year that they, really did appreciate.
Oh.
Why? Like restaurants or
Yeah, restaurants, the coffee shops that are around wherever the
That's
school
nice.
is.
because it's close by?
Yeah, it's close by.
Do you
It's
get to
something
leave
they could
campus
do.
when you're teaching?
Sometimes it's like really special to be able to leave during your plan time to go run an errand. Every once in a while I do it and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna make it back in time. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
a lot
of stress.
Oh,
A
this
lot
is
of stress.
crazy. I've done it like twice.
Oh my gosh.
this past year.
Sure.
You
But
could have been emailing parents.
I could have been. I could have been
communicating with the parents because our children are very important.
the most important.
My child is only reading at reading level, and I need them to be reading at above reading level.
They will fall behind. They
They
will.
will fall
because of you.
It's always
and your errands.
It's my fault.
Miss Josie, you are one of the great ones. We are very happy to have had you on for
Yes.
your expertise today.
Thank you so much. I like to be able to talk to people.
That are not children.
Adults. I like to
Other
talk to
adults.
adults.
You are speaking to thousands of adults right
There you
now.
are.
Awesome.
Thank
Hello,
you so
everyone.
much for sharing your wisdom with us. And I think we learned a lot of things
We
that
did.
we needed to learn today, especially as we're going into August.
Oh gosh.
And
Yeah, it's happening.
Everyone will be back into the school.
And you know what? All the teachers that are listening and teachers who are moms, you guys are freaking
Superheroes.
awesome super women and men. And we can't be a mom if you're a man, but you get where I'm going. Thank you guys for your hard work. And you love these kids. And that at the end of the year, I just think these teachers like loved my daughter, and that's
Mhm.
a real gift. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. And thanks for doing what you do because I really, really enjoy the pump and dump culture.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. I love Miss Josie.
I mean,
she's so great.
she's so great. Teachers are great. I love teachers,
I-
obviously.
It's so funny. Like, it's one of those things I was thinking about when we were talking to her about, being a mom at the same time as being a teacher, right?
Mm.
And it's just fascinating to me, like I will be so sick of my kids, and then I will send them away, to a play date, or even when they went alone to my parents for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I do is miss them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it must just be similar. Like you think that you can't handle more kids when you get home,
But they're
then,
not your kids.
Yeah.
Well, they are your kids. When
then they're your kids.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's schools, man, schools are hard to navigate. It's hard for someone like me who hates rules. So and like has problems with authority. So it's just always difficult for me to stay within the parameters and trust that they know what they're doing.
Well, it is hard to.
And sometimes it's not always right. I mean, schools make mistakes a lot. And
Sure.
we didn't really talk about that, but
Well, I think we have some definite insight into the mechanics of what's happening, that some things that we just don't think about that they're actually
Sure.
working on, that we're like, why aren't they working on this?
Mhm.
So, it's nice to give good teachers like Miss Josie a break sometimes.
Absolutely. 100%. So, still on a little bit of a break, you guys, but this is a good time for you to follow us on all our social media.
Please do.
We don't do that. Hey, also, who out there has left a comment or a review about our podcast? We're some
They
sort
can't answer you.
They can't, but in your head, if you have or if you haven't.
Do it.
Please do it.
Please do it. It'll really help.
Us.
I kind of teased last week. I don't know if y'all noticed, just me speaking at the end of the episode. Tracy was on vacation. I kind of teased that we're going to have some really big announcements coming up soon.
So follow us on Instagram at The Pump and Dump Show,
And
Facebook at The Pump and Dump, and most importantly,
join Band of Mothers.
our secret sauce, #Band of Mothers Facebook group, where all the good stuff goes down. It's just such a joy.
It's such a joy. And also, like, gosh, what a great support system. There's been some really tragic stuff on there
Mhm.
recently, and everyone's really been there for each other.
Mhm.
So
And learned a lot, like just a lot of info about how to navigate motherhood.
right.
Is that all the social media? We're kind of on Twitter. Follow us if you want.
Are we?
A little bit, like a scooch.
Like a scooch
Like
on
if
Twitter.
you're into, we're not
A
going
scooch of twit.
A scooch of tweets.
All right. We love you guys.
Peace out.